today is the celebration of Shri Rama Navami, the incarnation of the Lord, known as Ramachandra, the ideal king, the ideal husband, the ideal son. And so we will get started with some prayers. First to our spiritual teachers in our lineage, our spiritual lineage. Srila Prabhupada, who sits right behind you, back there. I'm very fortunate and very happy to be here, as this was the first place where Srila Prabhupada stepped foot on Boston Harbor when he arrived, and I have been wanting to visit Boston Temple for my entire life since I read that story when I was 6 years old. And I'm so grateful to be here among the beautiful deities, Shri Radha, Gopi Vallabha, Shri Govardhan, and Shri Jagannatha Sudhatra Maharani. So we'll get started with some kirtan. If you're in the back, I request you to come forward as close as possible. Krishna, God, is not scary, I promise you. Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Thank you. Wonderful to get to know you. How many of you have been here for 5 years? Thank you. Thank you. And how many of you have been here for around 1 or 2 years? Wonderful. Thank you so much. And my last question, who's been coming here for less than a year? Oh, it's beautiful. Upstairs and back. Can you please come forward? Join us up here. Request everybody to please come forward. The back is going to be jam-packed. Even if the space is empty, there will be Devas joining us because today is the celebration of Rama. You may not see them back there, but they will be back there. So we will get started. Today's presentation is on Lord Rama. You have a wonderful evening in store, dances and songs by the youth of the community. So while this gets set up, it's going to take me a minute. We'll sing Ragupati Raghavara Charam Pati Pavan Sita Ram.
Ragupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sitaram.
Ragupati Raghavara Charam Patita Pavan Sita Ram. Sitaram Jai Sitaram Man Pyari Tu Sitaram. Sitaram Sitaram Man Pyari Tu Sitaram. Ragupati Raghavara Charam Patita Pavan Sitaram. Today's presentation is on Sri Ramachandra. Lord Ramachandra was, he appeared many, many ages ago in Navami, some 25 to 50,000 years ago. Raise your hand if you have heard of Lord Rama before. All right, so you are all dear friends, intimate associates of Sri Ramachandra. And he is known as Maryada Purushottam, or the ideal human, the utmost human, the epitome of perfection. Today we will discover how this great personality, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, Sri Krishna, Sri Gauranga, Lord Ramachandra, how by thinking of him and meditating on him and worshiping him, we can attain perfection. But it's not going to be the usual route that you are used to. And you may have to dig a little deep. It's going to be something unexpected. So you can respond, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Here we have the English translation of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 10, Verse 53. Please respond. When Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was the king of this world, all bodily and mental suffering, disease, old age, bereavement, for those who did not want it. Who does not want death? That's a question for y'all. Who does not want death? Oh, the rest of you want to die? Worship Lord Ramachandra. And so, perfection. Sri Ram was known for his perfection. He was the ideal king, the ideal son, and the ideal husband. As you all know, he was the son of Maharaj Dashrath. He was born to a great personality, Dashrath, who was in the lineage of the Raghu dynasty. And the purpose of his appearance was to uphold dharma, or religiosity, religious principles, and really, dharma means that which is identical to the nature of the soul. So his purpose was to connect individuals around him to their purpose in this world. And through this, we will not be telling the entire story today, as most of you already know it. But there was quite a bit of tragedy and trauma that he and his family had to undergo in order to achieve this purpose. Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. The Lord arrives for two purposes: to establish paritranaya sadhunam, to protect those that are his beloved, paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya chadishritam, to get rid of those who are envious, those who are evil. And the third reason is dharma samsthapanam. So during this sojourn of Ramachandra's life, Sri Ram's life, these were the three things he focused on to protect his beloved devotees, each and every one of you in this room. To get rid of those that are obstacles or impediments in the way of our devotion, vinashaya chadishritam, and to establish dharma, establish our real purpose. Why are we here? What are we here for? So we start our journey with that prayer to the Lord. That today we need your help. We need your help to know how we can become loving devotees of you. Paritranaya sadhana. How we can remove the impediments that are in our way to reach you. Vinashaya chadishritam, and our dear Lord Ramachandra, we ask that you help us establish what is our true purpose for being here in Boston, in this temple, in this body, with this family, and I believe many of you are also students. As the ideal son, his father, Dashrath Maharaj, had to send him away. Why did he have to send him away? Who remembers that story? Now, I'm a teacher. I spent a lot of my years in a classroom with 6-year-olds to 9-year-olds. I'm also the vice principal of a private school in Dallas. So I have a really bad habit, and that's that I ask a lot of questions, and I expect answers. And if I don't get answers, I get a little despondent. So that's okay. You will humor me and respond. Who was Dashrath Maharaj? How did he stop Lord Ramachandra from becoming king? Shri Radha Gopi Ki Jai. Anybody know the answer to this question? Yes. Yes. Excellent. Can we go give her a fireworks count? All right. Thank you. So, Dashrath Maharaj, on the day before the coronation, the morning of, came up to Lord Rama and told him, I'm really sorry, but you will not be king. The entire kingdom is waiting for him to become king. 4 years since his very birth. Here is the savior of our entire civilization, our entire dynasty, our entire country. When he becomes king, we won't even have to worry about old age, disease, mental suffering. We cannot wait for his blessings to arrive for us in the form of king. And the streets conversation with my wife, and she's the queen, and I have made her a promise, and I can't go back on my word. And without a single moment's hesitation, Lord Ramachandra, as the ideal son, accepted his father. Perfection. That is Maryada Purushottam, the Lord of perfection. And where did he go? To the forest. He took off his jewels. He took off the crown, the prince crown that he had. He took off his heavy garments, the luxurious velvet and silk. And his brother Lakshmana was watching him and getting angrier and angrier. I will take the sword and I will cut off her head. You give me the word, I will kill anybody who stands in your way. No, we must go to the forest. Maryada Purushottam, the Lord of perfection, showed that just as easily as he can accept luxury, he can renounce luxury. And with his wife, Sita Mata, the goddess of the universe, Srimati Radharani, Sri Lakshmi Devi, all three of them went to the forest. And instead of lying on beautiful golden thrones and beds, they lay on the forest grass with flowers as their pillows. And instead of servants coming to serve them nectar, juices, and milkshakes, and ice cream, they drink water from a well with dust in it. And instead of thousands of servants and attendants and nurses and cooks and advisors, they were attended by the deer and the birds and the sages in the forest. In a flash of a second, his entire life had changed. And yet, Sri Ramachandra, our Lord of perfection, Maryada Purushottam, stayed peaceful, full of love, full of blessings to everyone he met. So the question is, we are here today in Boston, learning about Lord Ramachandra. What is perfection for us? Srila Prabhupada has placed foot here in your city. Not in Dallas, not in my city. There are how many states in this country? 50 states? 50 states in this country. I should know this. I'm a social studies teacher for 30 years. And out of every single state in this country, our Srila Prabhupada, the founder and Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, arrived where? Here. When he came across that ship, he took his first step in the United States where? Boston. And all around this Boston area, today I learned, there are over 230 universities and colleges of education. And Srila Prabhupada had two goals for perfection. Societal, to educate all people in spiritual life for real unity and peace. I serve as the co-minister of education for the ISKCON Ministry of Education in North America. And Prabhupada's first principle of the 7 purposes, first purpose, was to educate all people in spiritual life for real peace and unity. And that needs to be some of those of you who have been here 5, 10, 15 years, I can understand that maybe some of your purposes as well. My dear host, Mother Adhya Mataji and her husband Parthasarathi Prabhu, they are educating many in the colleges. How many of you are in the colleges? How many of you go to university here or college here? Okay, a few of you? All right. How many of you are involved in some education program here in this city? Just a handful? All right. And the second perfection, so societally for us to educate all people in what? Peace and unity, spiritual life to attain peace and unity. And individually, What is the perfection of education? The perfection of life? Loving devotional service established internally as an irrevocable fact. When Srila Prabhupada arrived, he had just had a 35-day journey. It was at his 35th day that he arrived, and as he stepped off the boat, off the ship, he looked right and he looked left, and he did not know where he was going to turn. And here in Boston Harbor, he sang, he put together a beautiful Bengali poem. And in this Bengali poem, he says, "My dear Lord, how will they understand my message? My goal is Srinadam Svakatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana. Riti Antasto Hipatrani Vidurodi Sristam. That I am trying to help them understand loving devotional service established as a complete fact. You know who you are, you know what service you're meant to do, and you know how to engage in love. That is perfection for the individual. And so this is the first principle that Srila Prabhupada established, societal perfection. And this is the second one, individual perfection. Here we are at Boston, Massachusetts. I've already said a lot of this stuff. I get sidetracked by your beautiful faces. I forget to move the presentation. The issue is that when you start thinking of your goals and where you want to reach, those of us who are practicing bhakti or looking for perfection, it's like so high. This lady on the Vyasasana is telling me I have to establish loving service as an irrevocable fact. I can barely love my parents or my husband or my wife or my children properly or myself. How am I going to establish loving service to God? And on top of it, societally, I'm supposed to propagate spiritual knowledge and educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life, achieve real unity. I can't stop arguing at home. How will I achieve real unity? And so it's natural. You may feel, and you are in this room today on this most auspicious occasion because you want to make impact. But when you go to make impact spiritually with your society or your family or your community, you may feel that no one is interested. They don't understand you. Why are you wasting your time with that Hare Krishna, Hare Rama stuff? You may feel that others have different visions than you, not interested in what you have to say. They may misunderstand you, question you, argue with you. The more impact you try to make, the more you try to help society step into the ideal spaces, the more disconnected from reality you may feel. How many of you feel that you become more disconnected with reality the more you become spiritual? Any show of hands here? A little bit? And individually. You may sometimes feel like the goal is too lofty. It takes too long. Too much practice. Too many hours. And how am I supposed to fit in spiritual perfection with my school, family, and work responsibilities? You may feel exhausted by the pressure. You may feel stressed. You may feel discouraged. What to speak of what's inside? Lust, anger, envy. The imbalances of virtue, Srila Prabhupada said. Where is there time to even think of those or apply anything to eradicate that? When you see the high, lofty goal of perfection, and you see the reality where you are and where society is, you get discouraged. Apathy, failure, a loss of faith. And what arises in our heart? Imperfection. We put our eye on perfection and we look inside of our heart and we look at our surroundings and we think, I am so imperfect. I am so inadequate. And that is, you are not alone in that feeling. Our Srila Prabhupada walked off the bus passed in ship after suffering 2 heart attacks. And he had the same feeling. This is my goal. To give Krishna consciousness to all of these people. This is where they're at. They're just in Lobhava. Kamalobhavishte. Cheta eterna vidam. How am I going to get rid of their envy and anger and lust in their hearts when we don't even barely speak the same language? He didn't even know if there was going to be food, proper food for him to eat here. In his second letter on the 37th day, he wrote a letter to Srimati Maharaji and said, guess what? There's really good food there too. I can eat there from India. And he said, Bhakti Nai Nivedanai Name Kupiru. I don't have any qualifications to do this, my Lord. I don't have bhakti. Of course, it is deep humility. We may be feeling this because we truly don't, not because of our deep humility. But imperfection comes about in the space of challenges, inadequacy, obstacles, mistakes, and failures. And then right now, I'm going to ask you to turn to a partner and share. Where do you feel imperfect? I'll give you 2 minutes. Each person can share. Where do you feel imperfect? I'm asking you to open up your hearts here. Any brave souls want to share why area they feel imperfect? Say yes. Thank you so much for sharing. We accept your imperfection. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Yes. True steadiness in sadhana. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes. And cooking. I share that too. Imperfection in cooking for my family. Thank you. Yes. An imperfect disciple. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Anyone else? Yes. Morgan. Inner peace, you feel chaos. You're looking for it and you feel imperfect there. Thank you. Anyone else? So we shared a few high-level ones. If we dig deeper and deeper, you go to those dark days where you don't want to get out of bed, or where you're crying, or where you're despondent and fighting. And there are as many dark days as there are light days. But very rarely is it spoken about or talked about. So, today is the day for you to think about your imperfections and offer them to the Lord of perfection. But He's also the Lord of imperfections. Mariana Purushottam doesn't mean that there's only a goal of perfection that we have to reach. Here is the King of the entire universe. Here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Ramachandra. And what is a king usually seen as? Somebody who has an amazing palace and thrones and wealth, and but he spent 14 years of his life banished by his own father. Imperfection number 1. Number 2, his own mother, stepmother, co-mother, Kaikeyi, she convinced by Manthara, a servant. Inside of her consciousness, imperfection, envy, jealousy arose. And that came to the queen's heart. And the queen convinced her husband, the king. Ram's mother and father rejected him. rejected him. Imperfection number 2, he was rejected by his parents and his society. Instead of living in a kingdom, he lived in a forest. Who lives in the forest? Even while we all here in Boston have amazing homes. It's the Supreme Personality of God. It has accepted imperfection number 3. His own wife, Lakshmi Devi, Sita Maya, was banished, was kidnapped, stolen, and had to live around asuras. Now, when you're a little girl and you learn these stories, or a little boy, you read those comic books where they have horns and big teeth and red eyes and dangerous, freaky monsters. And this beautiful lotus flower, transcendental lotus flower, delicate, shining like gold, Sita Maya, who's never had even a fraction of a second of negative thought in her mind or her heart, is surrounded by demoniac forces. And this is God's wife. Imperfection number 4. And then he has to go save her, of course. And what does he have to save her? He's the king of the universe, the king of the universes. The king of the entire cosmos. And who does he have? Monkeys. Some say, as a matter of fact, the demons did say, they just have an army of monkeys. Can that be? Instead of like the biggest, baddest, toughest warriors around. They have, of course, honors. The monkeys were not monkeys, they were demigods. And so the Lord of Imperfections tells us, how do you get to perfection? Please repeat after me. Accept your imperfections. And embrace your imperfections. Approve your imperfections. Don't just accept them. Don't just embrace them. Approve of them. They must be there. They have to be there. I'm a teacher. When I put a lesson for my students, say I'm teaching them multiplication. I have a whole page of difficult multiplication problems. Some they know, some they haven't learned yet. I must put the ones that they don't know in order for them to learn. If I gave them 2 times tables and they already had mastered the 2 times tables, how are they going to learn how to do the next level? A good teacher, a good leader places more challenges, more obstacles, so that when you look at that paper and you're really interested, you would say, oh, there's some 3 times on this sheet that I don't know how to do. Instead of falling apart and freaking out and crying and hiding in a corner about those 3 times tables, the student who's keen on learning says, oh, thank you for giving me something I don't know so I can learn how to do it. Approve of your imperfections. Can I just hear you say it one more time? And so I'm going to tell you quickly my story. My name is Gopi, Devi, Dasi, the disciple of His Grace Guru Mahaprabhu, Shiksha disciple of Nikira Swami. The daughter of Vishwanath Prabhu and Mother Daddy Shri. I was born in ISKCON, Chicago in the late 70s and have been practicing Bhakti Yoga for my whole life. Went to ISKCON Gurukulas, served in Dallas. My husband, as well, is born to Her Grace Guru Devi Dasi. She's a Prabhupada disciple from the mid-60s. 1969, she took initiation. We met and got married, and after just a short while, my husband was hit with cancer. And for the past 20 years, he has struggled with cancer on and off. Imperfections. We serve at the ISKCON Dallas community, and since then, I have been traveling and serving with executive coaching and leadership in the United States. Recently was at Intel, and I'll tell you more about that. But in 2017, my oldest son, who had graduated from the middle school at TBG Academy and our Bhakti private school in Dallas. My goal, our purpose, our dharma, our goal was to show the world, the society, that you can have academic success, spiritual success, material success side by side as a family with your children. Both Sangeeta and myself had an amazing bhakti education in high school in ISKCON. And that was my goal. And I come home one day, Sunday night, my son is throwing up. Monday, I simply stayed home. He has been accepted in the dual credit program where he's going to college and high school at the same time. And so he has hit a lot of benchmarks. We're getting emails from professors. Your son is only 14, and he's guiding the 19 and 20-year-olds. They're asking Mrs. Mitzi, the professor of the English department, the associate professor. She says he is guiding all of the older children, the older students. They want his attention, his care. But he comes home, and one day, February 2017, he's throwing up. The next day, I come home, I see him in bed, everything okay, but there was going on. And he says, Mommy, I'm not throwing up anymore. He was 15 years old, but I can't read. I don't know why. Well, why are you staying here at home? We need to take you to the hospital. I take my husband, my son, we run to the hospital. Mind you, I am, at this point, vice principal of a private school. I've already started my service as an education minister. I've already started guiding local schools in the path of educational leadership. And when he goes to the hospital 2 days later, they show us the nurse's eyes get big and wide. And they're looking at something, and they pull it out, and I'm wondering what's going on. And they say there are 3 tumors in his brain. And immediately the pain that hits me is so incredible and so intense. Never before have I felt that kind of immense pain of your son's imperfection. And so I turned to my path, my spiritual path from my childhood, and I remembered all the mantras for the 6-hour surgery that was happening. I delved deeply into the mantra, and all the mantras came like friends on winged airplanes. And this magical leadership parenting path, leadership education path was born. And so, looking at the time, we won't have time to go into it. Now I hold workshops and I coach executives, C-suite level executives in America to teach them how to achieve their purpose and achieve pure love for Krishna at the same time. And these are all the places that I have been, that we're working with. These are just some of it. This needs to be updated. And here are some quotes, but I'm going through this really quickly. So when you see the path that you need to reach, when you have that goal, your personal goal will be different than everyone else's in this room. And then you are faced with your imperfection. One of the things that comes up when you want to reach Mayada Purushottam Sri Rama, Sri Krishna, Sri Gauranga, is you will feel rejection in your heart. You're here, you want to reach up there, you feel imperfect. And when you feel imperfect, a rejection mindset, especially those of us who have been raised in a rejection culture, arises in the heart. And rejection means sharp, harsh criticism, embarrassing yourself or others, jabbing at those around you, exaggerating problems, making molehills, making mountains out of molehills, collapsing, threatening, ignoring, overcompensating, and neglecting. How does rejection show up in your life? When you look in the mirror, oh, I'm nothing, I'm good for nothing. Look at how much better the other person is than I am. Look at that person next to me. Look at my sister, my husband, my employee. My employer child. For a child, as soon as you see them first thing in the morning, you fix your hair, your shirt. Your nails are so dirty, you smell like a pig. As soon as you see your colleague at work, oh God, why did I have to see his face today? I was trying to avoid him. Why can't he get the thing done in time? Why won't he get it done the way I need him to get it done? When you're sitting in a car and you're going on, just even start from the car to work. And that rejection mindset starts being created all around you. Bam, 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 bam. Everything you start seeing as a space of rejection because of the internal imperfections. What we teach are the opposite. Approve of your imperfections. This is an executive strategy I work with founders and CEOs with. Don't put your mind so lofty on the goal that you forget your reality. And then when you look at your reality, you feel despondent, lost, and rejection. All of your meetings and conversations need to be based in continuous reality awareness, accepting and approving of the mistakes. If you have your meetings and your conversations focused only on are we hitting the goal or are we not, rejection mindset will increase. If you have all of your conversations and your meetings focused on what is the reality, what mistakes and imperfections are here, and how can we improve them, without the value judgment of the imperfections, it is not wrong that a 10-year-old is still figuring out their 8 times tables. What's wrong with that? It is not wrong that you're too tired to continue that project that you need to do at work. It is okay if that system update you were supposed to put together had some challenges. Who has asked you to be perfect? Why is perfection only our goal? And if you are not perfect, bam, you're rejected. That is from the culture of domination. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to bring a culture of love and bhakti, which is a culture of acceptance, not control and domination. And with the founders and CEOs and doctors, we talk about measurements and metrics instead of focusing on the rejection spaces, on what's not working. Focus on real-time measurements, turn those real-time measurements into metrics, and then constant gradual improvement, iteration. The way the world is going right now, students, children, teenagers, young adults, 20s, 30s, there is a need for a philosophy of constant iteration, constant improvement. That means reducing and rejecting this idea that I'm not good enough, and that this is not good enough. But hey, it's okay, I'm not good enough, keep working. Tomorrow will be better, tomorrow will be better, but it's a mindset shift. And how do we do that? Here's an example. The iPhone itself had 17 full annual updates, and in the 17 annual updates, that means that a massive team that's there, and what are they doing? Only looking for the imperfections with no value judgment or negativity, otherwise they wouldn't be able to continue looking at it and finding how can I improve that. And even each year, 6 to 15 minor updates. Even if you don't want an update, you're going to get an update. I had to rent a car, the Kia Soul, and I don't like updates. And I also don't like changing the space. And without even knowing that there's like a whole new thing on this car. So how does Krishna approve of our imperfections? Bhava-rahi Janardana. Sri Ramachandra looks at the core feelings of love within your imperfections. When Dashrath Maharaj, who had to reject him and banish him to the forest, he looked at his deep heart. My father is so connected to Dharma through duty, so I will accept his command. When Sri Ramachandra had to go to the forest, he saw, I am approving of this. I would love to go. All of those sages and saints have been serving me for lifetimes, thousands of years, hundreds of years. This is my time to see them, to visit them one after another. Approving of the imperfection, Sita Reina, she was thought to be around the demons and demonesses. And Sita Reina went and served all of the demons there. The monkeys, not only did they have the strength of more than an army of soldiers, they were purposeful demigods taking birth. Srila Prabhupada did the same. Someone had given him a small little $20 bill. And this is a grand acharya who was driving Rolls Royce cars and has golden watches. And the Mati who gave him the $20 bill, he picked it up, he looked at the bill, and he said, "My dear, the eye connection, Srila Prabhupada, Mother Devi was as if, he made me feel as if I had given him $1 million. And Sri Prabhupada did the same. And we will end today with the story of Shem. He was walking the path and meeting the beautiful elderly lady who had been serving him her entire life. And she sat to give him fresh berries. Well, she sat to give him fresh berries. She tasted it, and then handed it to him. And Lakshmana said, "What is going on? You're not supposed to eat before you give to God." An imperfection. But with so much love, Ramchandra only ate those that had touched her mouth first. Shri Ram will only accept your service that is filled with imperfections. And so approve of your imperfections, accept your imperfections, and offer them in service to the Lord. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Radha Gopi Vallabha ki jai. Hare Krishna.